During that time, crime went down. During that time, GDP went up, property values went up, unemployment went down. Did you hear about, crime going off the charts in Lansing in the last 5 years? I don't think you did, because crime went down. So I just want you to know that that was with 80 dispensaries. So in case anybody was concerned about crime, at least for Lansing, it was basically a non-issue. You can talk to my police chief, Mike Yankowski, he's still the police chief. We talked about it. I got his advice every step of the way. I talked to officers on the front lines, and it was a relief for them in many respects because they could focus on real crime. And you heard about the medicinal. The medicinal, that's all. I'm no expert at it, but there's certainly lots of evidence about what this can do in terms of epilepsy and so much more about the medicinal. The question is, and I congratulate you truly for grappling with this, and all of you who are here who chose you to spend your time here in your community. What's good for, and by the way, Lansing is going down to 20. We adopted an ordinance before I left, and the city council grappled with it, debated it, and ended up with 25, 20 plus 5. So they're in the process of culling all the applications, and they will come up with 20, and then after a time, they'll do 5 more. So for the city of Lansing, which is a city of about 120,000 people, they'll have 25 dispensaries. And they're in the process of culling, going down from 80 to 25. Most communities don't have that problem. Most communities won't have to decide who's not. They're going to open up an application. And every community has to decide how to do it. And I'm not here to say, this is the Verge Bernero way. I commend you for grappling with it and saying, what's right for Taylor? And I'm happy to help in any way I can. But I just really am here just to say what the experience was in Lansing. And I come at it from an economic development. I was a pro-growth, pro-business mayor. I looked at it like my #1 job after public safety. I always said public safety is job 1. After that, economic development and jobs. That's what I was interested in. And we boosted, believe me, we had millions of dollars of investment in the city of Lansing while I was mayor. I love doing it. I love cutting ribbons, Mayor. I don't know about you, Mr. President. I love cutting ribbons, whether it's 3 jobs, mom and pop, or a big company, General Motors expanding. There's nothing better than cutting ribbons and putting people to work. This industry, it is happening, my friends. It is happening around the country and in this state. The state legislature has okayed it. And they put the power in your hands. Unlike the liquor control model, where once somebody gets a state liquor control license for a liquor store or a bar, basically it's out of your hands. We had incidents in Lansing where there were shootings at a bar, stabbings, all sorts of problems, and we couldn't shut them down. We had to go to liquor control, we had to hold these hearings, maybe you know what I'm talking about. It's a lot of bureaucracy to try to deal with somebody who has a liquor control license. This is being done differently. This cannabis, the state has put the power in your hands. They have to not just get a state license, but a local license. And they have to come back to you for that license renewal. So I was very excited about how it was written, because so much of what we get as local officials is top down, the EPA telling you how to do it, the DNR telling you how it's got to be, the Liquor Control Commission. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, these things come down as mandates, and they're often unfunded mandates. But this law says, it's up to you. Lansing, Taylor, Pontiac, whatever, how would you like to do it? And so that's really pretty shocking, the way it was done, and I think very exciting. But it's more work for you all. And again, that's why I congratulate you for grappling with it. To say, how does Taylor want to do it? How does Taylor see it? So in Lansing, just quickly, briefly, we said, look, we got a lot of empty storefronts. We've got empty warehouses. General Motors used to employ 25,000 people. Now they employ 5,000 people and make more cars, by the way, and wonderful cars. The best cars in the universe, of course. But they employ fewer people. They're automated. And so we've got a lot of empty space. So we said, we want all the cannabis industry we can get. We want the growers. We want the processors. We want the cultivators, we want the extractors, we want all those businesses. So those are unlimited in industrial places. If you want to come in and make cannabis Twinkies, great. Cannabis Little Debbie's, cannabis Holos, we want you all in our industrial zones. That to us, we said, why would we want to limit that? You're making stuff, you're transporting it out, wonderful. Dispensaries, they decided 25. And then you could decide how to zone it. You could put an overlay district. You can decide where you want it. It's, like I say, it's pretty amazing how. But the jobs, what's happening, and my friends, what's happening even now in Lansing. Some people said, well, you don't need 80. And I would say, well, where are they? I mean, what was there? It was an empty storefront. And where these dispensaries were, my wife and I toured a lot of them. They improved the area. They took an old building and they put lights, they put an alarm system, they often fixed the sidewalks and fixed the asphalt for the new parking lot. They improved those areas. So even now that we're going down from 80 to 25, we've got 80 buildings that are actually in better shape than what they were in. And now these growers who want to move in, you should see the money they're pumping into the Lansing area. Warehouses that were abandoned. You can't get warehouse space in Lansing now. Call up a real estate agent, try to get real estate in Lansing. And so property values are up, GDP is up, unemployment is down, people are working, crime is down, shootings are down in the city of Lansing. And I, frankly, as mayor, I attribute some of that to the fact that we took an industry that was always there, and we took it out of the shadows and put it in the light of day. And this is what this law is allowing you to do, is to take something that's going on, it's in your community anyway. I remember I talked to somebody from Benton Harbor, and we talked back and forth with a number of the leaders there, and after this talk, she said, I just don't think we need marijuana in Benton Harbor. It's there. It's there. It's in every community. It was in my high school, it was at my college. I never used it. My brother used it, not for everybody. But it was there. And I think by taking the mystique out of it, taking it out of the shadows, regulating it, putting it where you think it should be, putting the light of day on it, and by the way, leveraging it, you're creating jobs. And I've met a lot of these people. I'm almost done, Fred, and thank you for your indulgence. I've met a lot of these folks now, these youngsters. I've toured a lot of these facilities, and I encourage you to do that. These are people, I'm not so big on the metal and stuff and the tattoos and stuff. I'm not that big on it, even when my own kids get some of that. But these are folks that are learning employability skills. They're going to work. These are folks who, again, they're out of the shadows. They're becoming taxpayers. They're becoming responsible. They're learning to show up at work. And, they may be working in cannabis, but they're not using it on the job. These are serious jobs, and they're learning punctuality. They're learning, they're maturing. They're becoming part of the workforce. So I just as a former mayor, and yes, I'm working now with some of the industry. I'm doing some other consulting too. But I stood for it when I was mayor. I mean, I held forums. We talked about it. We debated about it, as I'm sure you will. But it is jobs. And for some of these, and right now, one of the biggest warehouses in the Ingham County, in the Tri-County area, in Clinton, Ingham, right in the heart of Lansing, the John Bean building. It was this massive, like 3 or 4 football fields warehouse that has been empty for decades now, largely empty. And it is being converted into a grow facility. And the work that's being done, the thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands that are being pumped into that building, and if it becomes one of the largest grow, it will be hundreds and hundreds of jobs in the city of Lansing that are going to be somewhere. You know what? They're going to be growing cannabis. They're going to be processing it. I just as soon put people to work in Lansing and put dollars in our coffers in the city. So that's my view. I'm happy we'll be here the whole night. I'm happy to answer any questions now or later or one-on-one. Thank you so much.